going to screen share so people can see the book that I'm talking about here. So this is the cover art for Film Notes, and you have the, your front cover, your spine, your back here. The cover is actually a photo from a shoot that I did. I went to Australia and went to film school and stunt academy, and I worked on 5 feature films in just over 2 years, one of which was my directorial debut. I co-wrote, co-directed, and co-produced a feature thriller called Turbines, which is on Vimeo on demand, and it's also on Amazon Prime. And if you just go to one of those places and look for Turbines, the movie, it should come up. And that's really where I learned the art of indie filmmaking. And I finished up my studies, moved back to, actually I moved to LA. I wasn't really living there previously. Like, I went there a little bit, toured around, and was like, oh, I can't spend, $250,000 on a UCLA film school or something. So I went to Australia. It's a lot cheaper, very fun. It enabled me to adventure and study and go to school and travel and all of that all at once. But the thing that was so great about it was going to Australia and falling into the stunt world. I found out that most of the indie people would occasionally work on high budget or kind of studio films, but generally they were all rotating through different positions on each other's projects. So you might be a stunt person at a studio one day, and then on the weekends you're writing and directing your own project, and then the next week you're a production assistant or a sound person or a second unit camera operator or something on somebody else's project. And by falling in with those people, I very quickly learned that it's going to make me stronger as a filmmaker if I know not only what everybody on the set does, but how they all work together. And just like Ben was talking earlier about my coaching background being a combination of like leadership, mentoring, physical fitness, and all of that combined, people are going to be their best self if all the different aspects of them are as good as possible. And it doesn't work so well if you're like a teeter-totter and one side's all the way at the bottom and one side's all the way at the top. You're very unbalanced, and you might excel in one part of your life, but you're kind of falling apart in another. And you're not going to have your best kind of ultimate performance as if you were kind of high marks across all the different aspects. And the same with indie film, especially when you're dealing with a lot of restrictions. You don't have a lot of people or time or money or equipment, or knowledge or experience, or whatever it might be. Learning how to work quickly, be flexible, and allow kind of the elements of surprise, like happy accidents, not blow your top, not lose your mind, not get in fights, not blow up. All of that stuff was very formative for me. So going back to LA and getting into, quote, real production, working in studios, I realized that I actually really liked working on small sets that were indie, that we could all kind of become like a film family or be really good friends. And you may not work with them again, but you always felt like you knew them your whole life. Whereas working on a lot of the big budget stuff, I'd find that there were sometimes more people in my department that were on an entire film crew for an indie film. And that sense of like, well, you're not in my department, so I'm not going to talk to you, or don't talk to me, I got stuff to do for my department. And for a lot of people, I wouldn't even know who they were, and I'd be on set with them for 3 weeks. So it really gave me a passion for indie filmmaking, celebrating indie films, and helping other people who wanted to break into indie filmmaking to do that. So as I mentioned earlier, these 2 books came out of those 20 years that I spent in the trenches, so to speak. And some of the indie films were great, some were terrible, but I learned from all of them, and I made lots of connections with everyone. And one of the things that I really wanted to do is also position myself as an expert in the marketplace, because part of my coaching practice is mentoring people. And I have mentored some people on big projects such as writing a book, and also big projects like making their first film so they could submit it to a film festival. as you can see in the back here, I have assembled a number of blurbs and kind of testimonials and reviews from a bunch of different people that I've met. Some are from the US, some are from Australia, but they work in all different aspects of film. So as you can see here, I've got a producer, a stunt person, an actor, a screenwriter, filmmaker, director, stunt designer. All of these people are going to be able to utilize this book and find good tips and tricks. Now I'm just going to switch over and show you the cover for the corresponding workbook. As I mentioned before, this is the larger format book. It's like a notebook size. It's big enough that you could fill it out. There's lots of questions and answers and checklists and exercises in here to fill out. There's all different blurbs on the back. But they really do go together.